Liberal Democrats are going to grow in the Scottish Parliament elections on Thursday, May the 6th. We are going to gain more MSPs because we have a powerful message. Put recovery first. We have a strong team of candidates, including more women in winnable positions than ever before. We have a record of action, making a difference in Parliament and beyond. But there is a but. We need to work for these wins. We need you to spread the message, campaign hard, spend every moment of the next 7 weeks making the case to put recovery first. We put education recovery first when we won £60 million in additional support in the recent Scottish Government budget for education bounce back. We put mental health recovery first when we won £120 million of support for mental health. We put jobs recovery first when we won the case for more grants for business, including the 100% rates relief for business. We put climate recovery first when we was just transition support for workers in the oil and gas sector in the northeast, and when we won extra support for farming environmental schemes. On education, mental health, jobs and the climate, the priority of the Liberal Democrats for the next 5 years is to put recovery first. The priority for the SNP for the next 5 years is to put another independence referendum first. Reasonable people would agree, no matter what they think about independence, that this is not the moment for another referendum. But they see in the news that the SNP want a vote on this by Christmas. In the middle of a pandemic, when thousands have lost their lives, thousands more have lost their job, and our normal freedoms have been taken from us. Now is not the moment for that long, divisive, argumentative, exhausting and all-consuming event. An event that would suffocate our country, snuff out debate on other important matters and split our country asunder. We don't have to guess what it would be like. We've had an independence referendum before. Families were split, friendships were broken, business was lost. And we had Brexit. The scars are deep. Independence would be like Brexit Mark II. Independence would be like Brexit on a rocket to Mars. It would take a lot of energy, the journey would be very long, and there would be no way back. That is why I want people in Scotland to put aside our differences on independence and focus on the recovery. We've had enough of bust-ups about flags, the name of our country, and the relationship with our good neighbours. We must put recovery first. Liberal Democrats will put recovery first. You'll have seen our First Minister is good on TV. She talks a good game. She is good at announcements. That's all true. But that's as far as it goes. Delivery is not so good. After 14 years in power, it's all wearing a bit thin. Look at our record. The First Minister personally sponsored a waiting times guarantee for the NHS. It's been breached 300,000 times since. She demanded control of social security from Westminster before handing it back to the Conservative-run Department of Work and Pensions. Get this, she declined the chance to take social security from the Conservatives. The SNP promised Scotland would be the Saudi Arabia of renewables, and they pledged 2,000 jobs in the Highlands. But after spending millions of pounds of taxpayers' money, they have failed to secure the work and the jobs. It's an astonishing level of incompetence that fails to match the rhetoric, squanders public funds and betrays workers. And the First Minister said, "Judge me on education." Then she deliberately delayed the OECD report on the state of Scottish education until after the election. Before the SNP took charge, Scottish education was one of the best in the world. Now it is just average. If If talk was all it took, then Scotland would be a world leader in every field. If rhetoric created jobs, we'd have full employment by now. If it was down to promises, we'd have no waits in our NHS. People are fed up with all the talk, but that is all the SNP have been good at. I want to make Scotland a world leader on mental health. It's a big ambition for the country for the next 5 years. But it is more than talk. I have a plan that will work. More than 1,500 children have been waiting a year or more for specialist help with mental health problems. The number is going up. We are letting down young people every single day of the week. Our world-leading plans will create more training places for psychiatrists and clinical psychologists, provide new bursaries to train counsellors, establish new community services to give easy access for young people, restart and ramp up mental health first aid training so every workplace can benefit. Within the last few weeks, we got the Parliament to vote to declare a mental health crisis against the wishes of the government. It's time for Scotland to put the recovery first and fix our overwhelmed mental health services for good. Our plan for mental health shows what the Liberal Democrats in Scotland are for. We put recovery first, a needle-sharp focus on what makes a difference to people in their daily lives. Investment in people because they are our greatest asset. With good people, with healthy minds, we can achieve great things. I want to say something about the abuse of women. I take it for granted that I can go anywhere, everywhere, and at any time of the day, through dark streets, up hills and in the countryside. I will canvass alone for hours on end. I rarely fear for my safety. That should be the experience for women too. It's a woman's world as much as a man's. My wife told me recently she rarely goes out in the dark. Women should not have to cower at home to feel safe. I am ashamed that men have created such a culture of fear. The fear of attack, the fear of abuse, the fear of intimidation. And it is our job to change it. To give everyone the confidence to go wherever they want, whenever they want. The freedom they deserve. That's why I was delighted that our equality spokesperson, Karen Lindsay, proposed a commission to look into violence against women and girls, to consider ways to make society more hospitable. And she invited all major parties to commit to it, to examine the issues and to make recommendations within the first year of the new Parliament. The Justice Secretary has already agreed to talk. It's a great idea, and this party is right with Karen. We know we can do this. Look at the impact of the Liberal Democrats in Scotland under my leadership. The investment in mental health. The expansion of early learning and childcare. Winning the case for better freedom of information laws. Stopping the government giving grants to companies like Amazon with no strings attached. Speeding up the vaccination programme. Expanding testing for the virus. Winning financial support for businesses like fishermen, tourism and the self-employed. Our MSPs have punched above their weight. With more MSPs, we can achieve so much more. Look at what we have planned next. Planned to get our education system back up to the best in the world again. To tackle the climate emergency, bringing green jobs to the country. Create jobs with a youth guarantee. Work in partnership with others to build a case for progressive change in Scotland. Make the case with the new Labour leader, Anas Sarwar, on issues like reform of the UK. Because in this time of crisis, we must work together with like minds to attract votes back from the SNP in the cause of independence. We must build the momentum for change to be attractive to the moderate progressive people in Scotland who are appalled by Boris Johnson but don't want to spend the next 5 years arguing about independence. So I'm saying directly to the people who have voted SNP that there is another way. If you are fed up with the divisions in the SNP, disturbed by the arguments, upset that so many women were let down, concerned about whether the First Minister told the truth, and want a party that has a needle-sharp focus on recovery from this dreadful pandemic. My appeal is to look at our record on mental health, on education, on the police, the quality of our people, with more women than ever before, and the hope in our vision. With the Liberal Democrats under my leadership, we can make change. So with the election only weeks away, Scotland is at a crossroads. With the trauma of the last year, our thoughts, our efforts, our attention must be for the recovery, to bring hope and opportunity for our country, to work together with progressive forces to change our politics, to bring something better. For the next 5 years, we must be resolute in our determination to turn this country around. Liberal Democrats will put recovery first.